strategies into consensus-based strategies. We do it a couple different ways, but here's the performance again tracking it. The red line that you see is the S&P 500 over the period of time since inception of these portfolios. The green line that you're seeing is the HotList portfolio, selection of some 10 stocks. And again, far outperforming, more than doubling basically the S&P 500 performance over that period of time. We have a second consensus strategy. Again, we can do it where we take a couple of stocks from each of the master portfolios. This has an even better performance return. Over a 5-year period of time where 100,000 grows to 163,000, an investment in the top 5 masters actually grows to 392,000. Finally, we have a successful money management business or practice actually based upon those strategies. So the good news is by adhering to the strategies through thick and thin, following the disciplined strategies, you can still continue to outperform the stock market by very substantial percentages. As part of your Wealth Society membership, you actually have access to the Masters of Wall Street. You've got the tool where you can analyze stocks according to those 10 fundamental strategies. You can find new ideas using the screen. You receive a Masters HotList newsletter basically every 2 weeks. And every other issue, you have the top performing consensus strategy that I showed you the performance of that you can invest in or follow right along on. With that, I will open to questions. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, actually did what? Okay, I did not see that in his recent book, but that it still confirms his strategy and his performance. Yes, he changed his final strategy. One of the things I find is interesting, he's actually gone through several revisions of his book over a period of time. Right. What I've found through all of these gurus is that on a temporary basis, they've actually found ways of tweaking the strategies that looks like it gets more performance, but over long periods of time, going back to the original formulation actually has worked the best. And I've joined that. So I found it best to actually stick with the original formulation that was their original inspiration and work. So as much as I find it fascinating, the tweaks, I found it beneficial not to actually change the formula to the latest and hottest that they found. Well, right. I'm in a big agreement with you over the statistics and the portfolios. So in general, that's what I found that I've implemented. But thank you for that.
Let's take one more. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Yes. The statement was that of the examples presented, it did not show cash flows, and the gentleman has found that cash flows have been pretty important. There are several other of the masters that actually do use cash flows, and it is important. Also in the Buffett strategy, he wanted to make sure the cash flow from operations actually was positive. So again, it does go to that. That is a very important a variable that several of the gurus actually do use. Okay, I guess, yeah.
You go ahead.
Well,
You have two columns here where it said 1 over 0, 3 over 1, or something, and it said current and the original. Can you explain something like that?
Yes, there were several columns in there when we were presenting the stock portfolios that said something like 3 over 1. Basically, that was the total number of masters, depending upon the column, either strong interest or some interest in the portfolio right now, or when it was essentially originally added to the portfolio so that you could actually see the change or the difference. In the end, I present that as informative. I find that that doesn't make a difference in terms of the performance of the portfolio or whether you should follow it or not. The strong recommendation is to take a selection of either 10 stocks or 20 stocks in the portfolio and religiously implement them. When they're on the list, buy them. If they're no longer on the list, sell them.
Fred?
John, I'm puzzled about the difference between what you call your master's hot list and the top master portfolios. You referred to it here on the graph before, but you said the top 5 masters portfolio and the master's hot list. Am I assuming, well, why don't you let me describe, what's the difference between the master's hot list versus your top 5 master's portfolio?
The difference is between the Masters Hot List and the top 5 Masters portfolio was the question. We have multiple ways of trying to find consensus within the gurus. There's a system here that we can actually outperform the individual portfolios by looking for a degree of consensus. There are a couple ways of doing it. The hot list is actually the most sophisticated way, and it allows each of the masters a vote on each of the securities in our database, some 6,000 securities, and their vote is actually weighted by their long-term risk-adjusted performance. That will result, we take the top 10 of those, and that results in a risk-adjusted, highly ranked, consensus-based choice using all of these strategies. An alternative way of doing it is to say, what are our top 5 performing gurus, and we take 2 stocks, the top 2 stocks from each of those portfolios, and combine them together. So there are different ways of doing it. When we do with the top 5, one of the shifts is it actually tends to result in a smaller cap portfolio relative to the consensus hot list, and each has different patterns. Personally, I'm invested equally in both of those strategies. They tend to perform at different periods of time. Sometimes they're together, but some periods have outperformance of one versus outperformance of the other. So there are 2 different ways of combining the consensus of these gurus' wisdoms.
When you take the top 5, over what period are you measuring the top 5 masters?
No, when we take, since our inception of our database, when we've been tracking these strategies, that's when we use the top 5. So the length of time that with which we judge them grows each and every year. And again, we also look at a risk-adjusted basis of how well they performed over that period of time.
Let's take one more question in the back there.
Okay. And I apologize, I've slipped over a particular slide there. The question was, when we calculate the return, how do we know when to exit from a stock? We use a rebalancing strategy. For the normal rebalancing strategy in these particular portfolios, when our new hot list comes out, which is every other issue, so basically every 28 days, our portfolio consists of the stocks that are in their portfolio as of that day. We have a strong discipline to sell if it's no longer there. There's an opportunity cost we feel if we're holding on to a stock that's no longer in the top part of the portfolio. So the rebalancing discipline is very much an integral method here if it's no longer top ranked. Now, for tax-deferred accounts, basically that's a very good strategy. For taxable accounts, we tend to actually use an overlay for tax management on this, so that results in long-term capital gains, not a lot of short-term capital gains. There's a little more sophistication to that.
Thank you, John. Marks the end of the formal remarks, and I want to thank John for closing it up so well.